It's me, name's Sony. Welcome back to another little discussion video, back in the streaming studio. Today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about a live stream that we talked about, I talked on last week. So last weekend, I was on the Tales channel as a guest developer on his live stream, and we talked a little bit about game development and the sort of, mostly in relation to Sonic Frontiers, but of course it's sort of general game development practices as well. Now, one of the things that I was talking about mainly was the character control system in terms of how the character moves on the ground. And of course, that's something that I do quite a lot of, so I talked a little bit about that. And one detail that I wanted to talk a little bit about and kind of explain or sort of what's the word? The word I'm looking for. Well, let's just go with explain for now. Expand on. There's the one. Expand upon was the detail on how a character sort of accelerates and which direction they do that in. So we're going to start with Tubby Supercat. Let's have a look at that first. I'll probably switch to my regular camera. Let's get loaded with Tubby Supercat. It'll just be a moment. And go. There we go. Right. So here we go. We've got Tubby Supercat on screen. And you can see here, we can move him around. Now, this is the regular Tubby Supercat system. You can ignore the new rails. I'm working on some stuff. And you can see here, he can just sort of move around and he immediately turns when I turn him around. Now in slow motion, you can see exactly what's going on here. As I press to move into the direction I want to go, in fact, let me zoom it in a little bit. You can see that Tubby slows down his sideway velocity and actually moves into the direction he goes in. When I was talking on the stream, one of the things that I'd said was that with these kinds of character control systems in general, in pretty much any platformer that's done in the Mario style, where you have a sort of set of physics going on here, one of the things that I talked about was how when you push a direction, in this case I press up or I press right, you can see the character will turn into that direction and accelerate forward. They never actually move in the direction that you press. So there's sort of a three-step, not extrapolation, the, what's it called? Integration. Here we go. So you start with just pure input to movement, right? You press up, it would move the character up. That doesn't make much sense in terms of the real world of physics, right? Nothing ever actually moves. You have to have some level of physics in there to make it make sense. So instead of just moving in the direction you want to go, the character actually accelerates in the direction you want to go. So you can see here, he starts slow and then he's moving fast. And then if I let go, he slows down, and then I can go the other way and he speeds up and he goes to a top speed, right? Of course, if you see that in full speed motion, you can see he slows down and then he speeds up. And the sort of acceleration is relatively quickly, so he kind of reaches his top speed very, very quick, right? And of course, I've got a rotation when you kind of try and slow down as well. So you can see here, Tubby slows down like that and then turns around fully before he tries to accelerate again. So that's just the regular acceleration system, where you don't press a direction and move. Instead, you press the direction and you accelerate in that direction. Tubby doesn't exactly do that because he's actually one step further than that, which is what you would see in most character control systems in a platformer. What he does instead is he'll turn into the direction he moves, but the direction that you want to press, and he will only accelerate forward, whatever his forward direction is. So here we go. Tubby will accelerate forward, and then if I turn, he will have to turn into that direction in order to accelerate. What this means is, if I press up, Tubby is moving up, and he will accelerate forward. If I press left, Tubby will move left, but he'll accelerate forward. So, up is accelerate forward, right is accelerate forward, down is accelerate forward, left is accelerate forward. Tubby never actually accelerates in the direction I press, despite the fact he can actually move in that direction. He never directly moves, he accelerates his velocity, and then his velocity, it just carries on going in the direction he goes in. what that means here is when he turns, he has to slow down the direction that he's already moving in, right? And you can just about see this. If I was to jump and turn Tubby, you would see... Oh, well, let's do that again. So here we go. Turn Tubby. You would see he's got a very slight slip there onto the left side. So let's do that again. So here we go. We jump and turn Tubby, and you can see very slightly there he slipped to the left, right? Now watch what happens if I switch off the friction. Well, I decrease the friction on the side direction quite a lot, and you can see now Tubby is sort of driving around. He looks like he's power sliding all the time, right? So now if I was to do the same thing, so let's try and get Tubby to jump here. There we go. And now I'll turn him into that direction, and he just carries on sliding quite a bit now. So there we go. You can see him sliding in the direction I go, right? So look at him now. He's just power sliding around. It looks really unusual, right? And you can see this very clearly if I switch that off again. So here we go. When I change direction here, like that, it's sort of doing a side flip, and I'll show you Tubby's side flip in fact. So here's his regular jump, and then there we go. So he's got a nice sort of side flip. There we go, right? That's Tubby's side flip. And that happens when you switch direction completely. So this is a 180 degree turn, right? So here we go, 180 degree turn, and then Tubby accelerates again, right? So again, he never actually accelerates in the direction you want to go. Instead, he has to do a full 180 turn before he can accelerate in that direction, so that he can accelerate forward in his relative forward direction. He only ever accelerates forward, right? The directional keys, or on your analog stick, will only ever turn the character. It never accelerates him in the direction you want to go. Now, Tubby can accelerate in two directions. It's actually not a direction then, it's actually an axis. But before we get to that, what I wanted to talk about here was how you can see he actually has to accelerate from a stop, right? Whereas when he turns, he actually just carries his momentum, which is the word that you're looking for here. He just carries his momentum into the direction you want to go. So here we go. When he turns, he pulls most of his most of his velocity, his forward velocity, into the direction he wants to go, while also leaving a little bit of that in the side. So he does actually slow down a little bit. We'll be seeing a lot more of this in Sonic because it's all a little bit more exaggerated when I move into the Sonic games, right? But here you can see when he turns, he can turn pretty much instantly and carry on his velocity. Whereas if he stops, and you can see the camera movement really suffers from this as well. There you go. You can see he has to really accelerate from stop, right? Which is why it's a lot quicker for him to turn around like that. Whereas this, and it gives you a little moment to actually perform the move as well. Okay, so that's that. Let's have a look now. Let's have a look now at the sliding. I really need to work on his exact values there, but there we go. Oh, can't even play my own game. Oh, jeez. Right, there we go. I can't believe it. Let's do this properly, for goodness sake. Jump, jump, Tubby, Tubby, Tubby. Come on, Tub. You need to jump onto the yellow box. There we go. And then we'll do a flip up to here. Right. So here we go. Tubby can accelerate in his forward direction. Whee! As we can see from the slide there. And he can accelerate in his backward direction. But he won't ever go sideways. So let's see what happens when we try and jump him up here. And we'll start him going sideways now. So he's going to land sideways. Did you see? He moved forward in his direction. So there we go. Let's see that again. We'll go in slow-mo this time, and we'll allow the slide to happen in slow-mo. Right, so here we go. Tubby is facing sideways, and I'm not touching the controls, and he slid back, but he had to turn into the direction that he's going. So there we go. Now we can see that Tubby actually can accelerate either in the forward or reverse direction, right? So it's only in one axis, the forward axis, which is forward and back. But left and right, Tubby never accelerates left and right. not even on a slope when it's just pushing him in that direction. He still only slides forward or back. We will be seeing this very obviously in the Sonic games in a moment. You'll notice that Tubby's camera can't actually follow him in the vertical yet. But there we go. So you can see how that works with Tubby, right? Let's just do a little bit more driving. And this is the most important part, is that it actually acts like a vehicle. And this is what I was trying to talk about in the stream, right? Because it wasn't very clear, and it's hard to understand when I say whatever direction you press, the character only accelerates forward. They only move forward, right? They never accelerate in any other direction. Even when you press back, they don't accelerate back. They turn around and accelerate back. So there's in essence 3 sets of movement logic going on. There is the direction you want to go. There is moving in that direction, accelerating in that direction. And then there is the intentional accelerating in that direction. With Tubby, that means he'll only accelerate forward intentionally, but using the world, he can accelerate back or forward, right? The world can accelerate him via the slopes. The world can accelerate him rear or forward, right? But it can't accelerate him sideways. However, there is a deceleration sideways, of course, which you can see here in a sort of weak form, right? So there we go. That's Tubby Supercat. Let's get out of Tubby Supercat now. Oop, there we go. And we'll switch this back to regular mode. There we go. So we'll get out of Tubby Supercat now, and we'll have a look at Sonic Adventure. So this is where things get a little bit unusual, because I can actually show these same details in proper games. And we're actually going to look at 3 Sonic games. Ooh, let's try and do that. There we go. 3 Sonic games in today's video. We're going to look at Sonic Adventure, then we'll look at Sonic Heroes, which is basically built on Sonic Adventure, and then we'll look at Sonic Generations, which again is an extension to those designs, but it'll be a complete rewrite, right? So we won't expect to see the same mechanics exactly. There'll be some unusual behavior, and of course we'll look at both the 2D Sonic, and the 3D Sonic in Sonic Generations. So classic Sonic and modern Sonic. Let's have a go. So we'll switch over to a more appropriate scene. And here we are. So here we are in Green Hill Zone. Let's get the camera over here for now. And we're going to have a look now at Sonic Adventure. So Sonic Adventure 1. The 3 games that I'm going to look at are Sonic Adventure and then Sonic Heroes, which is kind of the final version of Sonic Adventure. Well, minus Sonic 06. I haven't really looked at that in detail because there isn't a real PC version, so I can't really test it properly and figure things out with it. But after that, I'll go over to Sonic Generations, and Generations being the kind of it's kind of their sort of nice version of the new engine stuff. New being pre-Frontiers. So we're gonna have a look at these games just in sort of detail. That way, it makes it nice and easy to kind of understand what is going on. Now let's pop over to here and have a glance at the game. So here we go. Yep, we got Sonic Adventure. So let me just lower the volume on my end so that I'm not capturing too much of the game. Yeah, so here we go. Sonic Adventure, exactly the same thing as Tubby Supercat, right? So he can only move in the direction he's facing. He only accelerates in the direction he's facing. In fact, unlike my games, Sonic can't actually slide sideways, right? So even when he's running up this section here where he can't actually slide up, and you see immediately what's going on there. Let's have a look over this side here where, yeah, so there we go. He can't actually stop moving on this thing here, right? So even when I stop moving, you notice his sort of body rotate. How? Get camera, camera. What's going on? Yeah, Sonic Adventure, man. The first Sonic 3D, like full 3D Sonic game. Not the best with cameras, right? My apologies for the clickiness of the keyboard. It is. I'm a little bit twitchy as well, but there we go. So yeah, you'll have noticed already that Sonic never moves sideways, right? So even when even when the ground is kind of pushing him around, there's a very slight amount, and it zeroes that out, right? So it's zeroing this out every frame. And you can see he kind of just moves. He's sliding, but never accelerating in the direction that he's going. And at certain angles, he will rotate towards the ground as well. So here we go. Flat ground or relatively flat ground. Sonic can face whatever direction you want to face, and then he'll slide very slightly, and you can see his animation kind of figures that out as well, right? But the more angle the ground is, the more he will be pushed to rotate into the movement direction, which would accelerate him down the hill, right? So that would accelerate him down the hill. But the angle is not enough for him to actually be pushed down the hill yet. So his friction is just completely erasing that. When you get to a certain angle, he does get pushed. Oh, well, not that angle. You'll notice there are some problems with the normalizing of the ground normal, right? The actual tilt. Sonic's tilt is wrong. It's like legitimately wrong when he's not moving on ground. I think it's using like the wrong value somewhere maybe. But it obviously works when just my door is opening itself because there's a very slight gap on my window right now. So there we go. But yeah, so if I get high enough up here, and no, I'm not talking about substances. Anyways, excuse me. You'll notice that he actually is forced to roll down, right? So here we go. I'm just I'll stand up here, right? So this is the easiest way to show it. Here we go. Look, my hands, not touching the keyboard. If I rotate Sonic, he is forced to rotate into the direction he's tilting, right? Into the ground direction, because it's not flat enough for him to stand straight, right? And then obviously there's more angle here, so he gets pushed quite quickly. But as soon as I go past this tiny little edge here, which you might be able to see the mouse, you might not, but as soon as I go past this little tiny edge, and then Sonic will start sliding, and he'll start being forced to run. Oh, maybe that angle's not enough. It's fine. There's an angle right here. In fact, let me rotate the camera. There we go. You can just about see he's erasing his acceleration, and then when he gets to this angle here, he'll probably, yeah, there we go. He's immediately forced to slide. And again, you'll notice he doesn't actually move sideways ever. So he actually rotated. He bounced off the wall there and rotated into the direction required of him. So here we go. We'll do that again, right? We can see him sliding, and I think just down here is where the angle changes. I can just about see it myself. And look, not touching the keyboard. And here it comes. There we go. Now he's sliding, and he bounced off the wall, and he's about to die. So there we go, right? And then of course when you do it backwards, you can see, well, obviously if there's any angle for him to rotate, the game will just force him to rotate. But there you go. Even when he goes back, he can accelerate backwards, exactly like the sliding in Tubby Supercat, which again is exactly the same as Super Mario 64 as well. So this is Super Mario style logic. It's all the same stuff. You have an acceleration velocity system. Your character only ever accelerates in the forward or back direction, so it's just one axis. You never go sideways, and you zero out your sideways velocity, right? No matter what you're facing, you rotate in order to go into that direction. Let me get to flat ground. In fact, there's some flat ground up here. Ooh, wrong key. Gotta remember the controls in these games. So you'll notice here, as I rotate, Sonic slows down, right? So obviously he can run, but then as I rotate, Sonic gets slowed down in his sideways directions very, very quickly, right? So he's losing a lot of velocity whenever I turn. And that's because of what's going on, like I showed in Tubby Supercat. But then of course, I'll show you again here, where when I go directly, you can just see he is forced to slide around in a circle, right? So if I can get him to... No, I can't. The thing with Sonic is, what you'll notice here, and you'll notice this in the other games as well, he never has a system like Mario 64, which I'm trying to implement with Tubby, where he slides intentionally in the sort of backwards direction. So he will automatically start turning so that his forward direction goes down the slope, right? Even if he's already sliding backwards. So here we go, he's sliding backwards, but he rotates so that his forward direction is facing down the slope. Let me try and do that here. So there we go. And then if he was to hit a slope, he would have turned and carried on sliding. So here we go, he'll turn, and he's never hitting the slope again. Let me get him up high enough. And there we go, he started sliding and he's immediately going forward again, right? And he will fall off the level. So there we go. And it's exactly like that. Now, what you'll notice about Sonic Adventure, and you'll notice this all the way to the rest of the games, right, is that he is fully capable within his regular movement system of running on ground, whether it's flat, tilted, or upside down, right? This is completely part of the gameplay systems, right? And you'll notice this. Oh, in fact, I wanted to show you as well the rolling, right? So rolling has the exact same logic, where Sonic will roll only in the forward axis. He never rolls sideways, right? And you'll notice this immediately. So here we go. Regular roll, I'll just tap it and you can see he rolls and his friction has been decreased. He also can turn a little bit quicker. Why? Can he turn quicker while rolling? I don't know. But here we go. If I do this now, you can see he's forced to rotate. So we are on a very, very sloped ground. But watch this. Right, so I'll try and do that again. Give him a little bit of speed. Notice he automatically starts turning, right? That's because he cannot roll sideways. He's forced to roll into the direction of the slope. There we go, right? So I'll try that again. And roll. And then he's immediately turning and now he's sliding, right? And sliding is just him running in that direction. It's all the same, right? There's no such thing as sliding as a mechanic in Sonic. It's just that he's accelerating in that direction, he's moving in that direction, but I haven't started his run animation. So he's just in idle animation, and he's moving in the exact same mechanics and flow as a regular sort of Sonic Adventure movement system, right? So there we go. And then obviously I'll try and show the upside down areas here. So here we go. If I just, there you go, you could see he completely is able to roll around upside down. And this is the thing with the loops as well. So there we go, perfectly able to roll upside down. Now the thing with the loops is that they are automated. However, they're also not automated. You see, only if I intentionally move in the direction of the looping pathway will it automate me. So here, if I press up, you can see he immediately started running into the looping direction. However, if I use jumps, if I use jumps and rolls, I can just move in, you know, within the loop, within a few of the guided areas. Ooh, damn it! And I'm just, yeah, let him drop. So what happened there was I immediately started moving into the pathway, the guided pathway, once I pressed a directional key, right? So once I started intentionally moving, that's it. Sonic was within an automated section, so he started doing the run. So, but here you can see, like, this is my directional key hand, and you can see absolutely he just doesn't care, right? So if I jump and press directions, I can move within the loop and never touch the automated sections, right? This system has been changed in the more recent games, even in Sonic Heroes, I think, but we'll check that out in a little bit. But yeah, you can see I'm completely capable of moving within the loop, right? Which means, look, you see, he tries to automate once I try and make it through this loop, right? So there we go. Yeah, he's completely able to move within the loop, like the regular movement system. But of course, and the same thing applies here, right? So it's just 100% capable of moving regularly on this type of ground. And that's the way this, oh, well, there we go, we're gone. And that's the way this game works, right? It's purely based on the ground system, the regular Sonic ground system, and then it guides you in a direction, right? That's it. It forces you to move at a set speed in a set direction. And that's the guiding system. It doesn't actually change the physics. There is still perfectly the same physics in order to keep Sonic going on the loop and stuck on the ground, right? And now we'll just look at that in regular form, and I'll jump over the boosts. Oh, or maybe I won't, right? There we go. And now I'll jump over the boost and just run with my keyboard, and immediately he just follows the pathway, right? So that's how the system works. There's always true sonic physics going on, even in an automated loop. It's not actually automated, it's a guided loop, right? That happens throughout all loops in this type of game. It's always the case, right? It's just always the case. All of the loops are like this, even at the start of the level. Like, even at the start of the... Oop, that doesn't work. Oh wait, there's a way to do that. There we go. There we go. And now, in fact, let me just let him do it. Let him do it naturally, right? So we'll get you to do it naturally. There we go. Down he goes. And off we go. No. And then game over. Right, so there we go. Now we get to the start of the level. So here we go. And we'll have a look at this loop as well. So same thing again. Automated loop. I really don't like those things. I know they're just trying to play with the physics, but I kind of wanted to jump on that spring just then. But again, same thing with this loop, right? I'll try and... Like, I'm not pressing anything, and as a result, I can just move within the loop, right? So this is the exact problem that we had in Sonic 06. You've probably seen the glitch where Sonic is running in a loop and he can just walk and he just stands at the top of the loop. That's simply the guiding system not applying. When the guide system doesn't apply, Sonic can just move within the looping system, just within the ground physics regularly, right? The only difference between the regular Sonic games and Sonic 06 was that they didn't really get the ground threshold working properly. So when Sonic goes upside down, he doesn't correctly detach from the ceiling, right? But ignore that. That's again. So there we go. It's a fully controlled physics system. You can completely run in loops manually. If it wasn't for the guiding system forcing you to move at a set speed and a set direction, you would literally be able to move completely freely within loops and completely upside down. And of course the camera would cause loads of trouble. And that robot just moves completely out. I never noticed that. But, oh wow! I haven't moved from the starting point and that robot can actually get me. But there we go, right? So, brilliant, right? And that's that game. So, next game then, let's have a look at Sonic Heroes. And here we are in Sonic Heroes. So, there we go. Let's just get over to that section there. If you're wondering why Tails, why are you getting thrown back again? You're always getting thrown back. Tails is just a lunatic. Look at him bouncing around. Hey, all of you, get back here. Right. If you're wondering why these lot are just dressed up as ridiculous, in a ridiculous costume, in a Christmas costume, it was one of the mods that was on the list. So I just kind of, yeah, I've got a widescreen mod here. I've got some high quality ring mod. Look at that, beautiful. They're blooming. Look at how good these rings look. Look at that, super high quality. Whew. Right, so there we go. So again, here we go. Sonic Heroes, exactly the same system as Sonic Adventure. Why? Because they're basically the same game. In fact, they are the same game, right? So this is the same engine. This is the same game engine. This is the same gameplay mechanics. Everything's the same. Excuse me for a second. Right, so there we go. Yeah, so same game, Sonic Adventure 3, and you can see the same system. So obviously this is a guided loop, right? So there we go. I'll run through the loop, and just a completely regular guided loop. Except, of course, I can go backwards in this loop, right? So this is the cool thing. These guide systems work as an axis, right? So they're what are you two do? Look at these two. These two. The game's just running three absolutely like independent character systems at the same time, right? It's all just regular gameplay mechanics running on both of the other characters. It's just regular. But there we go. So Sonic is guided through this loop, but it's not one direction. He can go the other way, right? So I can press down now, and immediately starts going through the loop, right? But there we go. You can stop on the loop. You can jump. You can move. You can move within the loop, no problem. But of course, it doesn't guide you until you start intentionally moving while on ground. So exactly the same system as before, exactly what Sonic Adventure does. As soon as I press up, he starts moving, right? and he starts doing his actual regular movement system. Unless, of course, there's no guided system, in which case he'll just stop and he'll just slow down if he's too slow. So here we go. Knuckles is too slow to go up the loop. So there we go, up the slope. So he just gets slowed down and he moves backwards, right? Same thing with before. And if it's too much of an angle, you actually detach from the threshold, right? So exactly, what am I doing? Words, and so words, you've got to get them right. Let's just move these guys backwards a little bit. Oh, I want to push him onto the, yay! Okay, I'm messing around. Right, okay, so there we go. And now we're going to look a little bit at something annoying about Sonic Heroes, right? So Sonic Heroes, like I mentioned before, not Sonic Heroes, but like I mentioned before in the Tubby video part, Tubby part of this video, not Tubby video part, that doesn't make sense, but the Tubby part of this video, we have three sort of mechanics, stages of doing this type of mechanic, right? You can have direct input, so you press an input and it literally moves the character in that direction by a set speed. It just moves, right? Based on input. Or what you do is you go one step further and you add an acceleration velocity system. So you press a direction and you accelerate into that direction, and then your character moves by the velocity. But after that, you can do directional, which is what all of these a high quality platformer would do, where you press a direction, you rotate into that direction, and the character accelerates in their forward direction no matter which way they're facing, right? And then obviously they go in the direction that you press. And then of course you have a slow down and reaccelerate when you're trying to turn around 180 degrees, right? Unless of course you can do it like that. You see how the physics is different when you just try and turn around, as opposed to when you do a 180 degree stop and slide, right? Stop and accelerate. But this game has a different system, right? So here we go. We can have a look here. As soon as I start moving onto this slope, you can see, right? He'll be angled, and now he can't stop himself, right? So if I try and face up the slope there, come on, down you go. He will turn backwards, right? So he'll immediately turn down the slope. However, if I'm Tails, the angle doesn't matter, right? Completely separate system. Tails is not using Sonic Adventure character control, right? While he's flying, he's just not using the grounding system at all, right? If I was to switch now to Knuckles, oh, he slides backwards, and then he actually rotated and slid forward, and then he's gonna go up the thing as well. But there we go. There is another thing I noticed, right? Oh, actually, before I do that, I'll carry on with this section instead of randomly jumping around. But there we go. So that's the regular system, and as you can see, Tails doesn't use the regular system. But the system that Tails is using, he's actually allowed to accelerate and decelerate a certain set velocity. With the other characters, that still exists, but it's happening all at the same time as their regular movement. Now I'm going to try and slow this down when it kind of is visible, but you should be able to notice that the characters are not actually moving perfectly in their forward direction. There. Did you see him sliding sort of diagonally, right? And that's an annoying thing that's being added in this game specifically, and that's why it's very hard to control. A lot of people said the PC version was just not a good version. It's actually probably because of this, right? It's very difficult to control the characters because they're not actually accelerating and decelerating and rotating in the direction you press. Instead, they've got that, and then they've got this additional thing on top that moves directly in the input direction. So here, if I'm gonna try and do that again, and this time when I let go, you can see they actually start moving in the direction I'm actually supposed to be moving in, which is directly forward to them, right? And that's really weird. So here we go. I'll try and slow it down and make it visible. Right? As soon as I let go, he moves into the angle that he's supposed to, but while I was pressing down, he was just moving directly towards the camera. That's being added to the movement system. Very, very frustrating, right? I did mention earlier that you can, there's something else I want to add on loops, and it's this, right? So here we go. If I'm just standing on this edge, oh, goodbye. Right, we'll do that with Tails or something. I don't know. Right, here we go. Right, so there we go. If I'm standing on this ledge here, then the guided system is not going to be able to pull me. It might not happen on this. Ah, come on, land on it. Oh gosh, it's not easy on this one. Oh, maybe on this one. It'll be, how dare you? Right, so there we go. If I'm standing on this thing, it really shouldn't be able to guide me. Of course, he fell off of it. Right, so that's in a different level. I'll be able to show that, but I don't think I'm gonna bother. So there we go. Right, let's just skip along and have a look at the sloping system again. So exactly the same thing as Sonic Adventure, only because I can't be bothered using Knuckles for these sections. Right, just want to finish him off, and again, same thing as before. Right, so slopes, regular slopes are guided, and then you run up them. Right, but here's the thing, with Sonic Heroes, when you press jump, oh, stop it, stop it, ah! When you press jump in Sonic Heroes, they only ever jump up, right? So here we go, I press jump, he jumps directly up. Now of course he will slide down a slope if he lands on, ooh, nice angled ground there, if he lands on an angled ground. So here we go, we jump up, and then, whoop, and then he slides down the ground. And again, he slides backwards only. So if I jump sideways, nothing, right? He's not going to slide sideways because you can't slide sideways. That's how the physics system works. However, regardless of the angle, oh, not that much angle, that's too much. There we go. Regardless of the angle, you press jump and they jump straight up, right? They will not jump at an angle unless, of course, they're moving in that direction, right? And then that means that if you try and jump off of a slope here, of angled ground, they will always jump up. So as you're going up this, you can jump off over there, but when you go to the top, you can't jump off there. You probably heard him trying to jump, right? You could try and jump, and the physics system is exactly the same. You can jump there, but once you start jumping up there, you see that Sonic wasn't able to jump, right? It's just exactly the same as before, right? There are regular problems, except with added frustration, right? Again, if there was no guided system, you would be able to just completely, with open physics, be able to run on all of these slopes. The game's physics works properly like that. And then here we go. Here we can see the exact same thing as before, where we run up there and they slide backwards. Only in this game, they're not rotating so that they move in that direction, of course, unless you're in a roll. So here we go, we press roll and then they immediately sort of roll into the slope. Oh, so there we go, press roll and he just rolls into the slope, right? I'm not moving. And there we go, that's this game, right? So that's this game, exactly the same physics as Sonic Adventure, because this is Sonic Adventure 3, right? This is literally Sonic Adventure 3. You might not like it, but that's reality for you, right? It's annoying, but that's life. And Sonic 06, very likely the same thing. Let's skip over to Sonic Generations. There's some unusual stuff going in Sonic Generations because it seems to be a complete rewrite. It's not Sonic Adventure anymore. They've redone it, probably a different engine entirely built. Maybe taken some things from there, but hey, that's how it is, right? So we'll have a look at that now. And here we are in Sonic Generations. So, yeah, I'm just going to start with this level because it's a great place to test the physics of Sonic, right? So here we go. We've got a little ramp here which we can't really look at side view. Is there anywhere where I can see it kind of oh shoot, wrong button. Sonic no longer has the system of movement that you would expect in a platformer, and this is where things get really awkward. And this is why, even though I've never actually done a deep dive into this and looked at it properly, when I started doing that, I realized why I really don't like any of the games beyond like the Sonic 06 and previous era, right? Where the physics of the games, when I say don't like, I mean the games are great, but in terms of the physics of the games, and I'm not talking about, oh, it's not physics simulated, it's not momentum or whatever, none of that nonsense, right? I'm talking about the fact that the game simply works very, very differently, right? And you can see that immediately here. Watch this. Watch. Are you sleeping? Get up. Right. Watch how Sonic is always able to move in the direction I press. Firstly, you'll immediately notice that Sonic turns very, very slowly, right? When he's not moving, his turning direction is so slow, right? Look at this, I tap left, and he never gets there if I just tap left. Look how many times I have to tap left for him to move in that direction. But you'll also notice he is already moving before I'm even facing that direction. That's because he's actually accelerating in the direction I press, even without facing it, right? That's because this system doesn't work like a regular system. It's got that, of course, but it also has a lot of pushing around, right? Where you're able to just sort of slide left and right a little bit. And you'll notice that immediately here, right? So when you kind of start sloping down things, in fact, I think it was easier to see when we're kind of closer to Sonic rather than, let's just slide down here. Right, so there we go. And here, when you start sloping down something, you'll see that it is actually very obvious that Sonic moves in a very different way. Remember how I said you can never move sideways, when he never accelerates sideways? None of that applies anymore, right? And that was in like the pure platforming days, that's how it would work. And so Super Mario kind of does that, right? But nowadays, we don't have that. Firstly, you'll notice Sonic never actually tilts on running ground, right? When he's not running, he's not tilting. He never tilts. He never tilts, right? So we've already changed the way that the game looks visibly. But there, you'll have noticed it immediately, where when he reaches sloping ground, so firstly, there's no rotating unless he reaches sloping ground, and when he reaches sloping ground, you can see I can't completely walk up unless I've got some velocity, but he's able to slide down regardless of his direction, right? So you immediately see it. Again, he's rotating downwards, but he's able to slide without any rotational, without caring about his rotation at all, right? So here we go, we'll do that one more time, right up, and he's just sliding perfectly in line with the ground, right? That's not how the Mario style platformer is built, right? It's a very different system. This is completely rebuilt from scratch, and it's not following the premise of what I would consider the high quality platforming style of platforming, right? You immediately notice it. It's so obvious here. And again, Sonic only jumps vertically up, right? There's no angled jumping here. So there we go. Of course, once he starts moving, look at that. I'm able to just run sideways. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Oh, and then he really doesn't like landing on ground that is sloped as well. So there we go, right? Look at this. He's just always running sideways and anyways, he doesn't care about direction when it comes to the physics of Sonic. Like, it just doesn't, the game doesn't care, right? There is none of that. There's no physics of direction or anything like that. It's just completely renewed. It's an automated game now. It's completely an automated system which is designed to be automatable, right, regardless of how you're moving. However, you still get the same thing of when you land, he gets pushed into the slope a little bit, but it's very slight and it almost erases all of the velocity, right? So here we're back to stage 2 of the stuff I described. If you remember, input, you can just move the player directly, and then you build a physics-based system which is input and accelerate in that direction, and then you build the platforming system which is input, you rotate to that direction, and you accelerate forward. We don't have that anymore. We have stage 2 where you've got input and he just moves in that direction. He accelerates in the direction of input, right? So let's switch over now to Mini Sonic, Mini Sonic, and we'll see something really cool, right? Now the first thing you'll notice is when I jump on things here, even the 2D Sonic, which is classic Sonic, is not 2D physics. It doesn't use any of the 2D Sonic stuff, right? Which is why you can kind of swap between 2D Sonic and 3D Sonic, classic Sonic and modern Sonic within the game mechanics using mods, right? It's because all of the physics is the same stuff, right? So again, it's just tweaks, right? Again, you can see Sonic doesn't tilt until he's actually forced to by a sloping ground, right? And he gets that running backwards system. But here's the thing. we are in full 3D even in terms of character control, right? Now obviously me pressing up and down, it shows Sonic crouching and tilting his head. However, when you're falling, not when you're jumping, if you're in jump state, here I press up, nothing happens, right? I press down, oh, not like that, I'm gonna have to jump first. I press down and nothing happens. Oh, I forgot, you can't hold it. Here, right, so this is a really cool little section. You'll notice that I'm not pressing anything, right? My hands are completely, we're hands free now. Sonic will run infinitely and forever. He will never stop moving, right? But you'll notice that he is on the threshold between being pushed down a slope and his zeroing out of velocity, right? As a result, he's moving, and therefore he's playing his run animation, right? Because he's now on a slope. Remember, when I run up here, right, he gets pushed down backwards, right? Which is fine. He doesn't force rotate unless, like some sections, he will force rotate, right? But here, that's exactly what's happening, except it's not enough to push him past friction. Here's the thing though, we are in 3D, full 3D character control. We're never in 2D character control. There's never a 2D physics system in this game, which is why even the 2D sections just don't feel like classic Sonic. They don't feel like actual classic Sonic games. So watch this, I'll press up. Notice he's trying to turn away from the guided direction, right? We're trying to turn into the movement system. If I press down, you can't see anything happen, but it is actually happening. So here we go. I'll force him to go up, and then I'm going to press right to rotate him. Do you see? Do you see how he's rotating and then trying to flatten out? What happens when I press down? Excellent. And now I'm not pressing down, by the way, right? So there we go. We're just able to move in the direction I was pressing, right? Which could be up or down. But because he's not actually being slid up and down, he's never actually reaching the threshold where he'll be forced to turn. So he'll just do this infinitely and forever, right? He'll stand here forever. If I press down, nothing happens. If I press up, he'll reset, right? So I can do this again, and we'll go the other way. Perfect. He'll do this forever. I figured this out, and then I went to the toilet, and 5 minutes later I come out. He's still like this. He's like this. He's just completely stuck. And it's within the 3D system. He's moving in the direction I press. And this becomes really, really obvious when you go onto something like this and then you press down. Did you see that? Did you see how well when he was falling, he's actually facing the direction I press, right? It's a little bit inverse to what he's supposed to do, right? Because here's me pressing down, right? He's facing away, which doesn't make sense because he should be facing towards, and here's me pressing up. He's facing towards instead of away, right? So it's inversed, but that's just because the game gets a little bit confused with the direction. If I was to do it on this angle, he gets very confused, right? And there you go. Did you see he's just kind of completely randomly confused? That's how the game is built. He is always in 3D movement system. It's just that because of the camera angle and all of that nonsense, he's kind of forced into this guided system. So once again, we're dealing with guided systems. The problem with these games, and why I feel every time I play these games, it just feels really automated, is because you are consistently in a guided system. There is never a point in these games where you're not within the automated system, right? So it's always controlling you. And here you can also see a little bit about how the camera works, right? And this is another thing that you never notice it really, but it's a bit annoying, right? Which is, yeah, you can't stop it. But it is a bit annoying, which is the way the camera control works is there's an active camera, right? There's the standard open section camera, and then there's the automated camera, right? Which is a specifically guided position here, right? And you can see here how the game sort of has static points where it rotates the camera into angle, right? And it does that everywhere. And then of course there are sections where it becomes, oh damn it, right? It becomes automated camera, right? So here we go, perfectly solid camera. So now it's a set direction, off you go. It's a set direction for the camera, and it faces in front of Sonic, and then when you press jump, you can see it's solid. It keeps him directly in the center of that space. However, when you drop down here, you can see we're back into normal camera, and Sonic can actually lift on the screen, right? He can actually lift on the screen. So here we go. One more thing to have a look at is how do loops work then. So let's go over here, right? And we're going to need other Sonic. Oh, in fact, before I do that, you can see that same thing going on here. So here we go. I'll just drop off the edge, no problem. But if I drop off the edge and press up, Sonic gets real confused, right? Especially here. Look at him. And then, of course, if I'm jumping on that sign over there, this one here, you can actually see him rotate directly into that angle. So there we go. You can actually force him to look towards the camera. And I noticed this originally while he was spinning. Right, so there you go. Again, same thing as before. But let's switch over to here. We'll have a look at loops, and that's about it, right? Oh, I pressed the wrong key there. If you're wondering what... So here we go. Again, the physics is designed for Sonic to actually run on loops. So this is actual ground system, and you can see he is able to run perfectly on there, except the guiding system is far more solid in this game, right? Which you would expect. Here we go. He cannot move up or down, and you can see here he can immediately turn now. So what this is, it should be pretty obvious to you. This is the classic Sonic mode, right? You can move in one direction, you can move in the other direction, and when you turn, he immediately turns exactly like 2D Sonic. Right, but of course when we're not in guided system, which is about here, right? Oh, we're still in guided system. Wonderful. Right, and you'll also notice when I press jump, he actually jumps off the ground, not like Sonic Heroes, right? So something's changed. So here we go. In this section, again, you can actually see that we're in 3D mode, right? So there's two modes in the game. You can see here when I turn, he turns very, very slowly, right? So very slowly, there's no instant, there's no guiding system. It's very, I don't know. There's two systems here in this game, right? Which is 2D mode and 3D mode. And 2D mode is the guided system, right? It's a fully guided system, and the directions you press are in fact the directions of the guiding system. In fact, you can actually see that in the gameplay mode, right? So if I switch here to regular Sonic, not regular Sonic but classic Sonic, you can see here that his movement in air is a little bit slower when I'm moving diagonally, right? So here I'm going to press left and jump, and you can see he's able to accelerate pretty fast, right? But if I press diagonal up and left, everything seems a little bit slower. That's because he is actually jumping slower, right? My actual movement system is slower when I press up and left rather than entirely, right? Because it's essentially acting like an analog stick, right? So the game feels completely different to a regular 2D Sonic game, right? It always was going to be like that. So that's just the unfortunate reality of these games. But there we go. I wanted to give a little bit of a breakdown of what these games actually are like in terms of their physics systems. It's very unusual stuff to look at, but yeah, it also gives you a look at some of the glitches and weirdness, and explains why that stuff is happening. In terms of why do the games feel so unusually different, and why is there so much of a controversy when it comes to the new engines compared to the previous engines? Well, that difference is very, very obvious once you look at the actual mechanics and how they are designed. You compare between Sonic Adventure and modern Sonic systems. They don't work like the regular Mario style platformer anymore. They are a different thing entirely, right? So Sonic Adventure 1, 2, Heroes or 6. They're one gameplay system, right? One gameplay mechanic setup with all the same logic. But once you reach Colors, Generations, these games, you are in a completely different realm with a different genre of a game, right? This is a completely different genre of a game. and that's why there's a lot of controversy. But most importantly, I wanted to look at a little bit at the mechanics properly and kind of describe what's going on in terms of platforming. I also wanted to kind of describe what I was talking about in the stream last week, about, you know, when you press left, you accelerate forward, right? That doesn't happen anymore, not in Sonic Generations. You press left, you accelerate left, right? It's not the regular platforming system. And for me personally, I feel like that's a step down. I feel like that's a step down in quality, but that's not what this video was about. It was about just disseminating some of the crucial differences between the mechanics and how they relate to regular platforming standards, right? What you don't notice when you play them is actually very, very clear when you're sort of running through them, right? But there you go. Anyways, this is a very long video, I know. Hopefully you got some fun stuff out of it. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you in the next one very soon. Goodbye.